I always like to talk about the inverted triangle, right? That you empower your people to make decisions, and that allows you to be the visionary leader, which I believe a visionary leader is a servant leader.
I have my kind of business development time that's carved out, where I'm, as I say, on the street, really talking to executives and leaders and heads of foundations, philanthropic investors. And so that process has really allowed me the space and the ability to flex in ways that ultimately I believe is contributing to the work that we're doing at Parkland, certainly at the foundation and in service of advancing the mission, which for us is we want to advance wellness. We want to relieve suffering. We want to develop and educate the next generation of clinicians that ultimately will advance health and wellness and well-being across Dallas County. But having those processes and then working with my team to ensure that they have the resources and skills needed and are developed in such a way that everything is not necessarily dependent on me to make a decision. I've been in spaces where early in my career that was not the case, and it became very difficult to move from that kind of tactical day-to-day work. I mean, I think about Heifetz, from a leadership standpoint, talks about as a leader, you need to kind of modulate between the dance floor and the balcony. And I would say, while we do that, early in my career, I spent a lot of time on the dance floor, and it was hard to zoom out and really have the perspective necessary to say, okay, what's happening, right? What are the trends that I'm seeing, right? How can I ensure that we are really moving the organization forward, making the necessary progress we need to fulfill the mission and really advance the vision that we have for the organization? And so I'm appreciative of what we've been able to accomplish, and it's a work in progress. Right now there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, generally speaking, and certainly as it pertains to healthcare. And so I certainly am finding that it's necessary for me to lean in even more in asking a lot of questions and spending a lot of time meeting with institutions and individuals who are respected economists and futurists, if you will, and individuals that I think can help guide me, as I'm considering decisions for the organization, and then work with certainly the hospital system as we're thinking about the task at hand.
As I'm listening to you, you are explaining I love to dive into different kinds of leadership. It sort of goes along with what I love to do within the business world is understanding the different kinds of leadership within an organizational structure, right? And I think one thing that allows leaders such as yourself to be visionary leaders is that you have a healthy organization that feels empowered to do what they need to do. And I always like to talk about the inverted triangle, right? That you empower your people to make decisions, and that allows you to be the visionary leader, which I believe a visionary leader is a servant leader as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And so, I absolutely loved your answer, and I often ask questions to get to that because another big piece I believe in being uncompromised professionally is understand the leadership styles that are needed at the time or the season of an organization. Because I mean, there's a time for a transformative kind of leadership, and then there's a time for a servant leadership, and I believe everything that falls underneath that servant leadership is when the organization is thriving and you're getting the best out of your people because they truly are empowered to develop their own leadership skills, but also to make decisions, to be creative, innovative, and all those things. I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. For me, as I think about the various kind of leadership archetypes that I need to bring to the work every single day, what really grounds the approach that I take is keeping the patient at the center of the work. When I was in education, it was keeping the student and the
Student.
family at the center, right? And
Mhm,
so,
mhm.
to the extent that I never deviate from that, it really allows me to ask some critical questions. What is needed to ensure that any person in Dallas County has access to high quality and compassionate healthcare? What are the conditions necessary for them to thrive? What takes a child to a place where they can ultimately mature along developmental kind of spectrum and pathway to become an adult that is productive, that is thriving, that is contributing to the economy of Dallas County? What ensures that a mother can have a successful delivery? and that she is healthy and that of her child. I mean, those are some of the questions that I begin with and go back to. And then based on that, then it becomes okay, what from an organizational standpoint is necessary? What has to be true? And I develop some kind of theses, if you will, to say, okay, if I do this, right, then this is gonna happen. Right. If I bring on these types of individuals, right, from a leadership standpoint that I know can effectively manage their books of business, have the competencies to support and grow their teams, are focused really on our goals and have set strong KPIs, and we're managing accordingly, that ultimately, right, we have a greater likelihood of achieving success. And then we define success in very quantifiable ways, such that, the public at large has a level of confidence in the work that we're doing, right?